Translation Studies by Susan Bassnett. Translation is much more than replacing words from one language with words from another. According to Susan Bassnett, one of the pioneers of translation studies, translation is a complex process of transferring meaning, culture, and context between languages. One of the first central issues Bassnett discusses is the relationship between language and culture. She argues that language is deeply rooted in culture. Every language reflects the customs, beliefs, values, and history of the people who speak it. Because of this, a translator cannot simply translate words literally. They must understand the cultural background of both the source language and the target language to communicate the intended meaning accurately. Another important issue is the types of translation. Translation can be broadly divided into literary translation, such as novels, poems, and plays, and non-literary translation, including legal, scientific, and technical texts. Each type requires different strategies because their purposes and audiences differ. Bassnett also explains the process of decoding and recoding. The translator first decodes the message from the original text by understanding its meaning, tone, and intention. Then the translator recodes that message into the target language while preserving as much of the original effect as possible. This means translation is an act of interpretation rather than simple word substitution. A major concept in the chapter is equivalence. Equivalence refers to finding the closest possible expression in the target language that conveys the same meaning or effect as the original. Bassnett points out that exact equivalence is often impossible because languages differ in grammar, vocabulary, idioms, and cultural references. Therefore, translators aim for the closest natural equivalent rather than a perfect match. This leads to another key issue: loss and gain. During translation, some meanings, wordplay, or cultural nuances may be lost because they have no direct equivalent. At the same time, translators may gain clarity by adding explanations or choosing expressions that make the text more understandable for the target audience. Translation, therefore, always involves careful decision-making rather than mechanical replacement. Bassnett also discusses untranslatability. Some words, expressions, or cultural concepts cannot be translated exactly because the target language lacks an equivalent. In such cases, translators use different techniques, such as explanation, adaptation, or descriptive translation, to communicate the original idea as accurately as possible. In summary, Susan Bassnett's translation study shows that the central issues of translation include the relationship between language and culture, the types of translation, decoding and recoding, equivalence, loss and gain, and untranslatability. Together, these concepts demonstrate that successful translation is both a linguistic and cultural process requiring knowledge, interpretation, and critical judgment.